guys, welcome back to I'll Read What She's Reading. I'm Kennedy.
I'm Michaela.
And I'm Reggie.
And today we are going to be sharing our favorite reads that we've read this year so far, since we're about a little over halfway of the year. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And then we are also going to update you guys on how well we've been doing with our summer TBR. So if you haven't listened to our summer TBR episode, go listen to that, see what we put on our summer TBR, and then come back and listen to how we've been doing.
Yeah.
How are you guys doing for that?
How many books did we each pick? Like four?
I think 4.
I've done 2 of 4. So I'm proud of myself.
So what 2 have you read?
I read Red Rising. I'm on the third. Well, I shouldn't say the last book. I'm on the 3rd book. I feel like I've been reading it for like months. I'm loving it. It's just there's just so much that's happening. Yeah, so I'm on Morning Star right now.
They're very dense.
They're very dense, yes. But these books just do something to me. I keep giving Kennedy all my updates, and I'm like screaming, I'm crying, I'm laughing. It's super fun. Highly, highly recommend. Just be prepared that they're a little dense. So yeah, I've read Red Rising, and I just recently finished Done and Dusted, which was on my TBR. Yeehaw. I was really excited about it because I was like, summer romance, like cowboys, and I was a little let down. I won't lie. I almost DNF'd.
Was that your first like Western romance? Yeah. It was.
There was just something about it that I don't know. Maybe it probably was just a case of wrong time.
I feel like
maybe.
It is pretty cheesy. And I think we all 3 listened to it, right?
Mm-hmm.
Something was going for me when it came to like him calling her sugar. But you said that gave you an
this is the thing. The narrators didn't talk in like a Western kind of accent. Like I wanted a Southern accent. I think I would have liked it a lot more. But where they were, some of the things they said just didn't really go with how I would have pictured it to be, because, they're living.
Is it in Wyoming?
Yeah, but they don't talk. Yeah, exactly.
Don't have Southern accents.
Yeah, exactly. So to me, I was like expecting that. So I don't know. There's just something about it that didn't like. I think I was planning on listening to it, thinking like, oh,
I just didn't think of it like that.
Yeah,
I didn't think,
and maybe that's why I didn't love it so much. I didn't care too much for the plot. I don't know.
A lot of plot.
Yeah, but it's okay. I still am going to read Swift and Saddled to give it a go, see if I like it. I mean, they're really short, like easy listens. So that's why I like powered through and finished it. But
maybe you just don't like Western romance.
Yeah, maybe I don't. I don't know. We'll have to see.
Did you read Swift and Saddled?
Mm-hmm. Okay. I liked that one better than Done and Dusted.
I think so. I did too.
Yeah.
I think you might you might like the plot of that one better.
Okay.
I think it gives you a little bit more, but it takes place, same place, just different characters.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. But no pressure.
Yeah.
I mean, you rated it 2.5? 2?
It's one of those. I can't remember.
I only rated it 3.
I rated it 3.
It's only 0.5 more than
it's the
you.
lowest score, like the lowest book, like rated book I read this year.
Okay.
Dang.
I'll take it. I just realized I did read People We Meet on Vacation. That was also on my TBR for the summer. And I loved it. I wasn't expecting to love it because I feel like a lot of people say it's their least favorite of Emily Henry's, but I think I liked it better than I like Funny Story. I think Happy Place is my favorite. And then I would probably say People We Meet on Vacation. I loved it.
I did too.
Well, I like the travel. There's like the travel aspect, which I love. The trope in it, I didn't think I was gonna love it as much as I did, but I loved it. There was a lot I really, really liked about People We Meet on Vacation, and I listened to it. It was a very good listen. So maybe that's why I didn't love Done and Dusted as much, because I think that my previous romance read was that one, and it was pretty top tier for me. Yeah.
Nice. I think I have read all of my summer TBR.
Claps for Michaela.
Thank you. So I read the brother Hawthorne. A little bit of a snooze fest for me. I think I would have liked it if I had read it like immediately after, but it has been like 2-ish years since I've read the Inheritance game, so I don't know. It was still fun. I just it could have been better.
They like to win.
They like to win.
I just finished that
Yeah.
a few days ago.
And then I read Vicious, which was a pick from one of our listeners.
Oh, yeah.
Because and I liked that one. I wish I would have read it instead of listened to it. But it was definitely a very interesting concept. I liked how there wasn't really like they're both antagonists in the both of the main characters were antagonists in it. Like there wasn't a protagonist and antagonist. Like they were both in the wrong, I feel like. So it was fun to read that. And then Just for the Summer, you know, love Abby Jimenez. I also will comment.
We all know what you're going to say.
I feel so passionately that when it comes to any romance series, even if there's not a specific like reading order that the author, like, even if they're different characters, I think they should be read in the order that it is in the series, because so many people told me they just read Just for the Summer and that was their first Abby Jimenez book, and I was like, no. After reading it, I was like, no, because there's a certain aspect that is like makes the book so much better after you've read the previous two
Which
books.
also kind of spoils the previous books.
And every time people are like, I know, it's like the third book. And I'm like, well, just don't do it. Read the other two books first. And I promise like the reward is like, you'll enjoy the book so much more.
Oh, 100%. Well, also, I've seen some people give it 5 stars who I know haven't read the previous one. And I'm like, I promise that would be if that's a 5-star read for you, it would be a 6-star read for you had you read the previous 2.
So, if you guys didn't know, Part of Your World is the first book in the Just for the Summer kind of series. So it's Part of Your World, Yours Truly, and Just for the Summer. And then her other series is The Friend Zone, the Happily Ever After playlist, and then Life's Too Short. And I just think it enhances your reading experience to read those in order. It's almost like reading, what's the Elsie Silver? Oh,
Chestnut Springs?
Chestnut Springs. Can you imagine like reading the third book before you read like the first one? You know, like I just think it just spoils things. Anyway, sorry. I just feel very passionately about reading the other books first. And I mean, obviously, if you're not loving like Abby Jimenez, then maybe you just shouldn't read them. But like, at least give the first book a try, because Part of Your World is so good too.
That series is
It's
so good.
Top tier rom-com.
I rated every single one of those 5 stars.
Yeah, so good. And then I read Reckless. I'm not gonna say much about it. And then
I think that was it. That was 4. Was that 4? Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Yeah, that was your 4.
Way to be.
Thank you.
I'm so proud.
Thanks.
For my summer TBR, I have read 3 out of the 4, but I'm currently reading my last one right now. I read Wool by Hugh Howey. That was the book that was recommended to me by a follower, and it was really interesting. I think if you're wanting something that's dystopian, it kind of gives off those same vibes. It's basically post-apocalyptic. All these people are living in silos, and it almost reminds me of Fallout, the TV show or the video game. If you have ever played or seen the TV show, kind of the same vibe. It's also a TV show on Apple TV. Haven't watched it yet, but it was slow at times. I think I rated it 3.5 or 4 stars, and I will continue the series. It ends on a pretty decent cliffhanger, but it was really cool. So shout out to whoever recommended that to me. And then I also read Iron Gold, which is the 4th book in the Red Rising series and my least favorite book in the Red Rising series. I'm not going to say too much because don't want to spoil it for these two, but it was just hard to get into some of the point of views. It shifts from one person's point of view to 4 people's point of views. So that was kind of hard, but very good nonetheless. And then I also read Flawless by Elsie Silver, which was really, really fun. I think if you had to choose between Done and Dusted and Flawless as far as cowboy romance goes, Flawless definitely is better. I read the second book, and this is a hot take, but I actually liked the first book better than the second. So, very fun series, decently spicy. So if you're looking for some spice with a side of plot with cowboys, that's for you. And then last but not least, I am currently reading Artificial Wisdom right now. And the only thing I'll say is it's just not what I thought it was going to be. So,
All right.
yeah.
Can't wait to hear more about that one.
Do you, because you found it from the author or someone else?
I found it from, oh my gosh, I'm going to forget their names. I think they're two sisters. I want to say one of them is Madeline. I can't remember. They read a lot of the books that I really, really like. They read a lot of sci-fi and just their taste. I feel like whenever they talk about books that they really like is very similar to me. It's Maddie and I can't remember her sister's name. I think it's Maddie. Anyways, they're sisters. If you guys are on Book Talk, you'll know who they are. They're so cute. I think when you read the synopsis and when they were talking about it, they kind of said it was a sci-fi thriller. And this is on the back of the book, but it's about basically 40 years into the future. And essentially, this journalist is trying to expose these politicians. And one of the people running for a dictatorship is an artificial intelligence person. So it sounds really cool, but you guys, it's like a murder mystery. It's just not what I was really expecting. So we'll see how I feel once I get to the end.
Right now, what would you rate it? Like where you're at, you know, when you're like reading a book and you kind of like in the back of your mind, like this is 3 stars right now.
I would say it's probably like 2.5, maybe 3. It's just very politic heavy. The sci-fi aspect is really fun. I want more of the artificial intelligence person
Stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I started it and it was kind of like a Black Mirror episode. And then as I went into it, it's almost reminding me of, oh my gosh, what's that murder mystery where they're all on the island? The thriller murder mystery.
The guest list?
Yeah, it's reminding me of The Guest List. Kind of.
Okay. That makes sense.
So, yeah. But now that we've talked about our summer TBR and our updates on that, we're going to share with you guys some of our favorite books that we've read this year so far. And I'm going to kick it off and I'm going to keep it really short because Michaela talked about it already. But you guys, Just for the Summer was so good. I honestly could probably rate it 6 stars. I waited 3 months to read this book because I just love Abby Jimenez so much. I talk about her all the time. I fangirl over her, but it did not disappoint me. It was so good. I also kind of feel like, I don't know if you guys agree, it reminded me of Funny Story-ish, but it's everything I wanted Funny Story to be.
Yes. I would 100% agree.
Yeah. It's crazy that they came out right around the same time because it's like same book, different fonts.
I think Just for the Summer may have come out first.
Okay.
Maybe. I could be wrong. Don't quote me on that.
But it was so very good. I was sobbing at the end. I took a video reaction of me finishing the book because I'm going to post a TikTok of my reaction finishing every book I read this month. It was so good. And Abby just has a way of writing that really hits my heart. And also I just really like how she writes about mental health. I feel like she really does her research. She gets opinions from professionals. And I just think she writes it in such an accurate yet relatable way. And I love her. And if you don't read the other 2 books first in the series, we will come for you because you need to get the full effect.
Yes.
It's like, this was one of my Goodreads updates, but it's like the Avengers Endgame of Abby Jimenez books. 1,000,000 stars. I loved it.
Funny Story came out after Just for the Summer. Almost a month after. So I would agree with what you said.
Yeah.
If you've listened to previous episodes, I started my journey of Harry Potter. And I finished Harry Potter in, I think in February. Oh, let me double check. Anyways, I finished Harry Potter this year. And I also, if you've listened, you know that I hadn't seen any of the movies before either. I had like seen the first one, like bits and pieces of it, you know, because it's a classic I feel like fall thing, like let's watch Harry Potter. And I fell in love with the world and the characters, and I sobbed uncontrollably reading the last book. It was just so good. So good. I understand the hype now. I really do. It did not disappoint at all. So I really, really want to go back to Universal in Florida and go. I've been there before, but I want to be able to appreciate it more and understand things a little bit better, because I thought it was really cool before I had even read the book. So I just think now that I've read the books and seen the movies, it's just gonna be a whole different experience.
Tell your brother to take you. That's your prize for finishing the books.
That is my prize. Yeah, I really want to go. Well, sorry, this is kind of off topic. I don't know if you guys have seen that, like, Universal is adding another park. That's
I have seen that
done next year, and they're adding like the Ministry of Magic section in the park. So I kind of want to go when that's all done, so I can also get just like more Harry Potter.
Yeah.
So I think that would be really cool. They're just adding another section of Harry Potter. I'm like, that's so cool. So it's supposed to be done next year.
Oh, that's fast.
So yeah, and they're doing like a How to Train Your Dragons.
I've seen that
one.
I love How to Train Your Dragons. They're doing like a monster one. So like all of the like horror villains, they're doing like,
that makes sense, especially because of Halloween horror nights. Yeah.
So it looks really cool. Anyways, and then I'm just going to. Should I do it? Okay. So I also just finished Manacled, and it's a fanfic of Harry Potter. This is pretty much in the description, so it doesn't give a lot of away, but this fanfic is like Harry Potter and, you know, the Order of the Phoenix, they lost to Voldemort. So it's just like taking the last book and just like doing away with it for this Manacled. And I loved it. I would rate it 10 stars if I could. I have no idea how she wrote it. I don't understand how a fanfic can be that good. And the amount of research she had to have put into that book to be able to get the magic system completely 100% right is crazy to me. And I was reading, she would update like once a week. She would release chapters once a week, and I'm like
an episode.
Yeah.
Wow. When did she originally put it out?
I think it was 2016.
Okay.
Here's my worry. After Michaela read it, because I didn't know what it was about. I didn't even know it was the start of the book was like they lost.
Yeah.
Once Michaela was telling me, I was convinced. I would love to read that. But here's my qualm. One, I feel like I would need to read all the Harry Potter books or listen to them just so that I could grasp and fully appreciate it. But I'm really worried that it's going to get taken down off of the fanfic websites, because I do know that she's somehow publishing it, but with different characters, different story, right?
Yeah. I've heard, I don't know 100% like what's going down with that, but on Goodreads, I couldn't even rate it.
Weird.
Well, some people I've seen on TikTok have been like trying to print it themselves and like are binding their own book of it so that they can have it because they love it so much.
Which
I don't even know if that's legal. I don't know how that works.
I think you can do it yourself. You can't sell copies.
Yeah. Okay.
Because I do know, which when we interviewed Heather for one of our episodes, I didn't even know that Allie Hazelwood wrote fan fiction before she was ever published. But now that she's a published author, you can't access any of her fan fiction. So I'm worried this is the case. What's going to happen with this author?
Well, if you want to start it and you have questions about like the magic system, I could always answer your questions if you need it. I cried so many times reading that book, and I like screenshotted so many different things because it was just so good. It's the longest book I've ever read.
Yeah, isn't it like over
it's
800?
over 300,000 words. And to give you context, I think Crescent City is like 200. 2,000 words, or maybe a little bit less than 2.
Dang.
So it took me months to finish it because I was reading it on my phone, but you have a Kindle and you can download it on your Kindle, right?
Mm-hmm.
It was so good. I will say, it is, the characters, a lot of people, I was reading some reviews, some of the characters, people were like, these were nothing like these characters in Harry Potter. And I think it's because a lot of the characters have been hardened by like the war.
Mm-hmm.
Because the war went on for years before like they actually lost, if that makes sense. So like there is swearing and like it is pretty violent, and like definitely read the trigger warnings. Like when I was reading it, like you had to approve that you were okay with like the things in the book, and that I was 18 plus and stuff like that. So I definitely don't think it's for everyone, but I feel like I just had to completely separate it from actual Harry Potter, because I think people were like, but like they actually won. I'm like, well, that's actually how it happened. That's what the author actually put. But this is just like almost like a what if.
You have to remember, it's a fan fiction.
Yeah.
It's not from the actual author of Harry Potter.
So I think people were just getting that like almost like too invested that like this wouldn't actually happen. I'm like, this is just like a what if.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's pretty accurate if like that's actually what went down, you know? So anyways, I can stop talking about it, but it was so good. So good.
Dang, I don't feel like, what other books would you rate 10 stars? You know what I mean? That's a very rare thing.
No.
And the fact that it's a fan fiction, that's pretty cool.
As long as it is,
Oh,
too.
it was so good. And I mean, I could see how some people wouldn't. It is really long, and sometimes it can get a little bit repetitive, but after like reading the book and like looking back, a lot of the things that were kind of repetitive were so important to the story that like I was reading, I was like, oh my gosh, like that's why that happened, or like that's why this happened. And so it was just, it almost like it gave me a little bit of like Kingdom of Ash vibes, meaning like things that happened earlier in the book that you kind of like looked over was like so important to the story.
You're selling me.
Sorry,
I'm telling
But you know, I haven't. Could I just like maybe I just watch the movies? Just kidding.
But yeah,
I feel like I couldn't commit to all the books right now. The
But
Harry Potters.
like I said, I genuinely am afraid that if I don't read it, I'm never going to be able to, because it's going to get taken down.
Well, couldn't you just download it onto your Kindle?
Yeah,
And
actually,
save
I
it.
probably could.
But and my last thing is like, I wouldn't recommend it to everyone.
yeah,
It is not a book that's like, it's actually very depressing. Like this is very, I think it's literally in the very beginning of the book, so this doesn't give anything away. It's pretty much like Handmaid's Tale. So there is rape and like there's lots of very triggering things, so I definitely wouldn't recommend it to everyone. So
really look up the trigger warnings.
yeah. But I think in each chapter, at least on the online version, it tells you what things are in the chapter.
Well, that's cool.
So yeah. But my favorite part about it all, you guys, is I would be reading and she would insert fan art about specific scenes. It was the best thing ever.
Can every author do that?
It was so good. Like I would be reading and then I would want to skip to the fan art because I'd see like a little corner of it, but I'm like, wait, I haven't gotten there yet. It was so good.
I love that.
And then at the bottom of each chapter, she would have links to other like fan art.
See, that's what's really cool about not even fan fiction, but think about authors could do that on Kindle versions of stuff.
Yeah.
Or, you know, whatever ebook versions. That would be so cool. That's a lot of work for them.
Yeah.
But I love that she did that.
I know, it's amazing. It's
Wow.
amazing. I want to print
Wow.
it. I want to bind it.
Birthday gift for Michaela.
Teach how to, you guys bind it for me.
Yeah, because
I
you can't buy
wouldn't
them. You can't
I
buy
wouldn't
them.
even know how to like begin doing that.
We'll do our research.
Yeah. There's your birthday. That gave me
Happy
an
birthday,
idea. Yeah.
We'll be talking later. Okay, my turn. the War of Lost Hearts series by Carissa Broadbent. I guess it's like it's a trilogy. There's some novellas that you can read. Maybe there's only one. I didn't read it. I will read anything Carissa Broadbent writes. I love her. The first book is Daughter of No Worlds. So if you read like Serpent and the Wings of Night and you liked that, you would probably really like Daughter of No Worlds. I'm trying to decide which one I like better. A part of me likes Serpent and the Wings of Night better, but there were certain elements to Daughter of No Worlds that was just so unique, and I'm just obsessed. I'm obsessed with Carissa Broadbent. So this, I feel like there's only so much I can say, but I've said this on the podcast before, but I would say the best way I can describe these books is like One Dark Window meets Throne of Glass. And the characters in this book, I love them so much. The third book even got spoiled for me on Goodreads, and for a minute I was telling Kennedy and Michaela, like, I don't know if I can finish it. Like, I was just like so upset, and I was in a bit of a reading slump. I was like, I don't know if I can finish it, but the ending was still like, I was still so happy that I finished it, and I think I can't remember if I gave it 5 stars or not, but if I didn't give it 5 stars, I want to go back and give it 5 stars. They are very, very good books. It has, I think the first book is dual point of view. They're all dual point of view books. And so it's fantasy. There's really only so much I can say. But basically this girl has some special magic, and she's taken when she's very young to be a slave at this. She's like okay.
Sorry.
It's so hard for me to say because this all happens in the beginning of the book, so I don't want it to sound like I'm spoiling the book, but basically she's taken as a slave and she becomes like the leader's favorite, like little pet.
Okay.
And she has this special magic, and she basically decides that she's going to buy her, he says that she can buy her freedom.
Okay.
I'm going to just leave it at that.
Okay.
Cool.
It's so good. Like, the fact I think about it a lot. It's been a while since I finished the third book, but it's just something, it's severely underhyped. I don't really see a lot on like TikTok or anything about Carissa Broadbent, and I just think she's a very underrated author.
Mm-hmm.
She just has a way of like ripping my heart out into a million pieces and then putting it back together and then ripping it out again. And I just can't sing her praises enough. So, highly recommend, if you like fantasy and want something that maybe is a little bit different. I mean, there's people out there that have read a lot more fantasy books than me. Okay. I'm not one to be like, I don't know, but I would say it's definitely got some unique elements to it. And yeah, I'm like dying for one of these two to read it because yeah. So sometimes it keeps me up at night thinking about it.
Have you read all of Carissa Broadbent's books, or is there some that you haven't read yet?
I think I've read all of them.
All of them?
Let me make sure. There's a novella for
because there's the Vampire Conqueror.
Yes, I did read that.
Vampire Conqueror.
Her new book comes out
soon,
mm-hmm.
which I'm really excited about. Oh, there is a series that she published back in 2017, but it doesn't have very many ratings. It's the Valtane Preludes is what it's called.
Interesting.
So very, very few ratings of it. But I'm gonna go check that out. I didn't know that existed, but I read all the other ones.
Okay.
And there is a novella that you can read for the War of Lost Hearts, but I won't lie, I don't want to read it because I think it's just gonna be too sad. I think it's gonna like make me unwell.
Well, when you're
so I don't know if I can do it. But yeah, that's all. I'll just leave it at that. But I'm obsessed. So I just need more people to read her books, because I will say, out of all her books, the Vampire Conqueror one, I think that's what it's called, Slaying the Vampire Conqueror, that's my least favorite.
Okay.
I haven't read that yet.
So, and it's a standalone.
But it's within the same universe as Crowns of Nyaxia, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
So
I need to preface honestly all the rest of my books for this episode by saying I've had a really rough year, okay? Meaning, wow, a really rough reading year. I have read so many 3-star books, 3.5-star books, 4-star books that just didn't quite make it. So I feel like all the books that are my absolute favorite, I talk about a lot already. After this recommendation, the next book I'll give one that maybe I haven't talked about a lot, but I'm sorry, Michaela, because I feel like me and Reggie keep talking about this all the time.
It's okay.
But honestly, one of my very favorite books, fantasy books for this year, was Morning Star by Pierce Brown, which is the 3rd book in the Red Rising series. There's so many great things I can say about the Red Rising series. There's also things that aren't so great about it, in the sense of, Reggie already talked about this, but they're extremely dense. They're not a book that I feel like usually with a fantasy book, like a Sarah J. Maas book or a Carissa Broadbent or a lot of the fantasy authors we read a lot, they're very bingeable. They're complex, but it's almost easy enough to understand that you could sit and binge it in a few days. When it comes to Red Rising, it's just not possible. I don't know what it is, but I don't know if it's the way he describes things or the fact that there's no joke 50 characters, but I feel like I read a few chapters and then I have to sit and marinate and be like, what just happened?
I feel like it's very fast moving in a sense.
It's fast moving, but literally so much goes on. Like, I remember Reggie said that she felt like she's been reading Morningstar for months. That's how I feel reading every one of his books. It feels like I take forever to read them because it feels like you've lived 5 lifetimes because there's so much that goes on. But I think he does such a great job at getting you to care about these characters in such a short amount of time. I also think that it would be such a great book if you are a girl listening to this and you're trying to get your husband to read, or if your husband reads, this would be such a fun book to read with your husband, because there's enough, if you're a big fantasy reader, there's enough in there to keep you entertained. But also I think it's a really great series for men in the sense of there's a very little romance subplot, but it's so fun. I don't know how to describe it. But anyways, Morningstar it's the last book in the original trilogy, and I honestly can't say that I've maybe Kingdom of Ash is probably up there, but I haven't read a book that ends as well as that book has. It's honestly the most perfect ending on planet Earth, and the last 70 pages are some of my favorite pages I've read all year, those last 70, and I can't sing Red Rising's praise enough. It's incredible, and I love it. If you don't know anything about Red Rising, if you like Hunger Games, if you like Star Wars, if you like Dune, if you like Guardians of the Galaxy, you will like this series. It's like all of those meshed into one. So,
I mean, I haven't seen or read Dune, but yeah, I'm halfway through Morningstar right now. I thought I was so confident that I was going to finish it over the weekend. Psych. But yeah, very, very good. My husband said he was going to read. He's committed to reading it, Red Rising. So I'm looking forward to it. And I will also put in, because I was going to say Red Rising as one of my favorite, or probably Golden Sun. I like Golden Sun better. But I will say, I would recommend physically reading the books. But if you want to read and listen, the audiobooks are so good, I think. At first, when I listened to a little bit of it while I was reading Red Rising, and I was kind of like, I don't like this. But then I was like, I kind of need to like keep reading, like listening or reading actively, because I didn't want to forget anything. And I am obsessed with the audiobook narrator. His voice is maybe a little too old.
Yeah, it is.
That's the one thing I don't like. I wish he kind of had a younger voice, but the voices he does for all the different characters is incredible. And it definitely keeps me like, I can really pay attention because of how good he is at switching to all the different voices. Like, it's insane. So he gets 5 stars for narrating. But
the last thing I will say, if you decide to read this series, one piece of advice that I would have, and this sounds so extra, but I wish I would have done this, is open up your phone, have a notebook. I don't really care, but open up your phone, take a list of all the characters, and describe who they are and any significant moment that happens to them. Because one, there's so many characters. Each character has like 3 names, and it's like something will happen to a character in the first book, And then he talks about it in the third book. And there's so many times I had to Google to remember what happened because
he's not as good at calling back
No,
certain things.
no. So
And I didn't do that, what Kennedy's saying, and I wish I would have.
yeah.
Somebody on Reddit has to have had done it. So I'm going to hope that when Kennedy's feels like she's brave to Google, maybe you can Google it for me.
Yeah. So
Love it all. I actually bought the book.
yay.
Yeah.
The first one?
Mm-hmm.
I really think you will like it. I'd
be surprised if you don't.
I think the first one literally is like Hunger Games, straight up on Mars. And you like
I've
a lot
actually
of
decided I'm not going to tell you guys when I'm starting it. It will just be a surprise. You'll
Okay.
just get.
But if you do have questions, you can ask. Because actually, I have a really hard time remembering books, but for some reason, I remember a lot from this series. Probably because I've had to Google so much. I'm excited for you to start it whenever you do.
We've talked a lot about this series, so I'm not going to go into depth. But this was actually my favorite book of the whole Magnolia Parks book series, and it was Daisy Hates The Great Undoing. That's the only book I rated 5 stars. So
I'm proud of us because the amount of DMs we've gotten of people being like, I read Magnolia Parks because of you guys.
Yeah, we've got a lot of people hooked on it.
yeah.
It's so fun to see the stories that people tag us in saying like they're starting it. I always get a little nervous because I'm like, so many people, you either love it or hate it.
I have
But-
to give a special shout out to one of Michaela's friends. Michaela had a housewarming party and she came up to me. Abby McKenna, if you're listening to this, I know you love Magnolia Parks as much as me, and I love you for that. Thank you. That's all.
I also had another friend who hated the first book, but now she's really liking it. She's on the 3rd book right now. So
The first book's rough, but once you make it through that, it gets much better.
yeah.
And I'm just glad that you guys ended up liking the series. It's scary because it is very, like, the first book, people have such a
Yeah.
visceral reaction to it.
Yeah.
So that one's very good. That one's probably my second favorite.
Yeah, same.
It's very good.
I don't have to talk too much about this one. The Shepherd King duology, One Dark Window and Two Twisted Crowns. We did One Dark Window as one of our book club books. I think it was for January.
I don't remember.
Yeah. I mean, that's when it says I read it. So, phenomenal duology. If you are looking for a fantasy, well, what would you call it? It's very different. It's very unique.
It's got a really unique magic system.
Very unique.
I was obsessed.
Yeah, I was obsessed. Like the very first page of that book is like gripping. You're like, I knew I was gonna love it from the very first page, which I can't say that about a lot of books. So I know we've kind of maybe talked about it a decent amount on the podcast, so I'll kind of just leave it at that. But very unique duology, which we love a good duology. I mean, there's nothing wrong with the series, but I was very satisfied, and I am just like waiting on pins and needles for Rachel Gillig to release another book because
yes.
she is phenomenal.
Because she just has that duology, right?
And
Yeah.
it was so, I mean, we're all aware that like a lot of books sound a little bit similar. Like they have like similar things, but I feel like this was just completely different,
Yes.
which was so fun.
Mhm.
Because, there's like some books that I read and like, oh, they probably got inspiration from this book and this book and this book. But like, I don't think there's another book that I'm like,
She made it completely her own.
yes, it was so good.
And we haven't already reached out to her to be a guest on the podcast, have we?
I don't think so.
I
We need to.
I want to just call her up
Hey, Rachel.
and just, I mean, I don't think she'd want anything to do with us. Who knows? But like, I would be 6 feet under if you, like, if I could talk to her. So I love her.
I genuinely don't. I can't sit here and remember anything from the first 2 books that I did not like. That I was like, ugh. Both of them were 5 stars for me.
Yeah,
Oh, so
They're
good.
really good.
So good. I
So
will be
good.
rereading those at some point in time. For
Yeah.
sure.
Me too.
So
That would be a good movie.
That would be a good like dramatized book
Ooh,
because of
voices?
the voices.
yes.
Yeah.
My last book that I'm going to recommend wasn't a 5-star read for me, but like I said, I'm going to give you a recommendation of maybe a book that I haven't talked about a lot on the podcast, but I enjoyed enough to recommend it right now, is Project Hail Mary by Andy Weir, I believe. He wrote, oh my gosh, what is it called?
The Martian?
The Martian, yes, thank you. Which was adapted to a movie. Fun fact, Project Hail Mary is also being adapted into a movie played by none other than Ryan Gosling. It's going to be...
Ryan's in so many movies.
He's going to
He's
do
the
so
it guy
well.
right now.
I know.
He's going to do so well. If you're an audiobook listener, this would actually be a very fun one to listen to on audio. Someone told me that when I read this book, and I didn't quite understand why until I made it about halfway through. So if you like audiobooks, I would recommend it on audio. For some reason this year, I've gotten really into sci-fi. And if you've seen The Martian, or read The Martian, you know that Andy Weir does a really good job at sci-fi, but also being really emotional. And I did not anticipate sobbing like a little baby in this book, but I uncontrollably sobbed. It's such a heartwarming story about friendship, saving the world. It's so good. And it flashes back and forth. So the story is essentially about a guy who goes up into space to save Earth, and he's alone. So when you hear that, it's kind of like, he's alone in a ship. How is that entertaining? But there's flashbacks and present time, and it was just a really unexpected good read for me. And I will now read everything else by Andy Weir because it was incredible.
Did you read? You haven't read The Martian. You just saw the movie?
Mm-mm. I've only seen parts of the movie.
Okay.
So
The Martian
It's
is
a
so
very
good.
good
I've
movie.
never read it, but the movie is
yeah,
flipping bomb.
I'm telling you, like it. I wouldn't like for these two where they have such an extensive TBR, and Reggie doesn't have a lot of time to read, and I wouldn't say, I don't even know, is sci-fi one of your favorite genres? Probably not. I would recommend reading it for these two. Listening to it to these two.
Okay.
But a really cool change of pace if you're wanting something a little bit different from what you're reading. It's a little slow at times. That's why I didn't give it 5 stars, but the emotional impact.
I have it on my Audible. I
also have it on Audible if you would like to listen to it. I listened to it for like 15 minutes.
Okay. I'm going to say 5 Broken Blades by Mia Corland.
I want to read that so bad.
It's just so good. It has 6 different POVs and they're just so fun. And it's like they're all teaming up for, like, they were all hired for the same thing. But they don't really know it until kind of towards the end, what their goal is. It's just really good. I'm excited for the next book a lot.
Is there a release date on it?
I don't think so.
Dang. See, that's the only reason I haven't read it, is because I just kind of want to wait.
Yeah. But the thing is like, it's pretty dang simple, meaning I don't think it's like you would be able to pick it up really quick. I still remember so much.
Okay.
That's what I was meaning from it. It's just really, really simple. So, yeah.
Nice. All right. Well, my book is, I'll say, Dark Matter. Kennedy has said this before, but Dark Matter was like her first sci-fi book, and it made her a sci-fi girly. I feel like I can say the same after reading Dark Matter. It's pretty, I don't want to say it's simple because it kind of like hurts your brain to wrap your head around like what's going on, but it's also like still easy to read, if that makes any sense. It was so good. It has I'm pretty sure that the front of the book, I'm trying to remember what it says. It's like, it says something like a gripping, gosh, now I don't remember. I don't have the book next to me.
I'll Google the cover.
It's like something that the New York Times or like the Rolling Stone said about it. Anyways, there's like this romance aspect to it that I was not expecting. But it is...
It says, it was a little bit, a mind-bending sci-fi suspenseful love story mashup.
Yes. That's all you really need to know. Very, very good. And I will say, the TV adaptation on Apple TV was so good. There were some things that obviously I was like, oh, I wish I had more of this or less of that. But overall, I would say it is one of the coolest, most well done book adaptation or movie or TV adaptations that I have seen. And there were things I even liked about it more than the book, which I feel like I never say that about certain things. So big fan of that. If you want to go watch it on Apple TV, it's really fun to watch after finishing the book. And so many of you have said that you watched the TV show before you read the book. And I'm a little sad, but it's okay. I'll let it slide. But
it was done very well. So if you, well, all you people listening to this are probably readers, but everybody that I meet or see in person, if they're not a reader, I say, please go watch Dark Matter. If you're not a reader, because it's so good.
Yeah.
All right, guys, those were some of our favorite books that we've read so far this year. We're really excited to see how the rest of the year goes. I'm praying for myself that I have a lot better second half of the year because the first half was a little rough, but that's okay. And we'll be updating you guys once the year's over on our favorite reads. If you guys are liking the podcast, go ahead and give us a 5-star review on whatever platform you're listening to this on. It really makes our day. And if you guys haven't checked out our merch, go ahead and check it out at illreadwhatshe'sreading.com. And as always, have a great week reading, and we will see you next Wednesday. Bye.